Yes, yes, yes. Welcome back to Hip Hope Hooray, Black Men Talking Health. I am your MC for this evening. I am Oya Gilbert, and we have a really fly program for you this evening. Today, I got somebody in the building that's like way up there in the hip hop hierarchy since its conception. We have in the building, I love it. We got in the building, Grouchy Watkins in the building from allhiphop.com. He's one of the co-founders of this illustrious publication or online publication magazine that talks about hip hop, but he can describe it much better. But welcome to the show, Greg.
Thank you for having me. You know, it's a great pleasure to be here. I know all of your guests probably say the same thing, but you know, being able to talk to you after having such a long friendship, you know, before we started recording, we were discussing how long we've known each other, probably over 35 years.
Oh man, you know? that's gonna age us. That's gonna age us.
You know, but you know, no, because you were a big inspiration for me and many others here in the state of Delaware in terms of wanting to pursue hip hop as a career. I mean, you know, I know at the ball, Guru said it. Yeah. You know, I'm not trying to steal your thunder. But, yo, I mean, you know, Project X, that whole album, that whole movement really inspired me to start my first record label while I was in high school.
That's crazy.
You know? So, I mean, you know, it's an honor to be here. It's an honor that you're still here. It's an honor that I'm still here.
That's right.
I'm thankful for everything.
Well, look, first of all, you know I'll take compliments very well, so I appreciate that. Yeah, it's been a long time, and I thank you for all those flowers. I didn't do that by myself. Of course, it's the city that I love. Work with a talented bunch of artists throughout the Delaware and Wilmington area. And then, of course, I definitely got to give a shout out to Real McCoy Troy, who was the executive producer, if you would say. He was the funder to Tomorrow Gold Records, so I definitely got to give him a shout out. But I do want to draw the attention, you know, back to you and why we're here, because this is your interview. Thanks for the love. But today's program, we want to talk about a real serious subject when it comes to Americans that suffer from what people don't even characterize as maybe a disease, which is alcoholism and the struggle with that and sobriety and how that all goes together. And you are going to share with us your journey in the field of the world of hip hop that creates this atmosphere that kind of is more conducive to that behavior. But I won't get too deep in it, but just wanted you to introduce yourself to the guests and, you know, tell your story.
Yeah, well, Dr. Grouchy Greg.
Oh, my fault. Pardon me. Dr. Grouchy Greg. I do apologize.
It's all good, man. You know, yeah, you know, I got into hip hop culture at a very young age. You know, I saw it in the neighborhood I grew up in. You know, I grew up in a middle class neighborhood in the suburbs, Brookside, which at the time was the biggest, you know, development in the United States, the biggest like single development. It was on the world map.
Right.
That's how big it was, right? And right behind there, of the development, I could go over a walking bridge and be in the projects, literally, Section 8, Kimberton.
Right.
And,
I remember. Yep.
Yeah, and so, you know, that was open air drug market on the basketball courts, you know, fly cars pulling up,
Yep.
you know, rimmed out, kitted out, all of the things that, you know,
typical hood
hood stuff
typical day in the hood.
Right. And so I would go over there. I would ride my bike over there. That's how young I was. I would ride my bike over there, and I maybe was in 4th grade.
Okay.
And they had little basketball courts. You know, they had the big hoops for the big guys, but you know, for the little kids, they had small hoops. So if you was in 5th grade, you could dunk. You know, so that's why, if anybody's wondering why we were over there, because we could play basketball and dunk. And I remember very distinctly taking, you know, going, I don't know what I was doing, probably one of my friends, and we went around to the back of the apartment building, and there was a circle. And somebody was standing with a boombox, and there was hip hop playing. So, you know, I weaseled my way up to the front, and I'm like, what in the world is this?
Right.
It was breakdancing.
Right.
They had on parachute pants.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Good
they had
God, yeah.
linoleum down and
cardboard, yeah.
You know,
Old
and
appliance boxes. When you get the refrigerator, break it down.
break it down and open it up, you know, and I was like, that's it. That's what I want to do because, you know, look, I'm a biracial kid, black and white, born in Albany, New York.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell.
Sometimes people can't tell. Sometimes people mistake me from everything from if I'm in Florida and Miami, I'm Cuban.
Right,
If I'm going through an airport, I'm Bin Laden in Afghanistan. You know what I mean? Like, so usually it's everything but what I actually am,
Right.
which is fine. I mean, you know, growing up biracial in itself is an interesting experience, right? So, I mean, I very distinctly remember, you know, being no older than 2 and sitting on my porch in Albany and Catholic kids coming from school, walking down the street, look at that little nigger. You know, my neighbors come out and they were all a very multi-ethnic street that I lived on, Jews,
Right.
Italians. They came out, defended me, all those things. But I was so young, I had no idea what the big hubbub was.
Right.
You know what I mean? So when I got to Delaware, when we moved into Brookside, they had just desegregated. And so they were busing students from Wilmington down here.
I remember that,
And
yep.
we were getting bused
Bus
up
out
to
into-
Wilmington.
That's correct, right.
Right? So there was
City kids into the suburban schools and vice versa. Yep.
So there's a lot of racial tension in the neighborhood amongst the blacks and the whites that lived there. Because also in my neighborhood, you know, believe it or not, there was motorcycle gangs, right? The Pagans, the
Yep,
Thunder
the
Guards
Guards.
were up in there.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So there was always this dynamic, being chased home from school at a young age. You know, I'm talking about coming out of school in 3rd grade.
Wow.
And being chased home by other white kids, right? You would turn on MTV and all you could watch or hear was Journey.
Yep.
Sticks. This is the early MTV.
Meatloaf.
Meatloaf.
Yeah, exactly.
Before
Cheap Trick.
Cheap Trick.
Yeah, I
all
got you.
groups that I like, by the way.
Right, yeah, I ain't got no
You know
right.
what I mean?
Right.
I was exposed to
Right.
that first.
I was too. Yep.
Right? So from an identity standpoint, I didn't really have one. I was only in 3rd or 4th grade.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So when I discovered hip hop, the culture of hip hop, the dancing, the breakdancing, the graffiti art, the
Right.
turntablism, all of that, I just fell right into it.
Yeah, man.
And it became my identity.
I know the feeling.
Slang, the
Right.
dress,
Right.
everything. And then before you know it, you could look around and see, you could immediately identify somebody who was into hip hop back then.
That's
because there were cliques. You know, you might have the goth kids,
Right.
you had skaters, you
Right.
had metalheads, you know what I
Right.
mean? And they all had their own subculture.
Right.
Hip hop was still a subculture at that
It's a way of life.
You know, so, you know, I gravitated towards it and there was just no looking back. By 6th grade, I was rapping, breakdancing, major battles at school against other people.
Right.
Went to my first Run DMC concert at Dickinson High, you know, when I was in 6th grade. you
Right.
know.
So this is how you fell in love. So this is how you fell in love with hip hop.
Yeah.
You know, you talked about your journey and the struggles being biracial, which obviously creates, you know, mental stress
Yes,
and
to say the
acceptance
least.
and all kinds of different things. And when we in our community and we're in that age of trying to be accepted, we tend to sometimes be followers and just kind of try to fit into the crowd. At some point, you talked about falling in love with hip hop. You talked about some of the motivation that from our relationship, and then you decided to start an organization, a .com. That experience of starting that mixed where the challenges you had, was your sobriety issue, did that come as part of the business of going into the, I guess, you
No.
know, the big league, or was it a buildup of what you just said, that start of that
It was
process?
a little bit of everything. So, you know, to be clear, addiction runs in my whole family.
Understood, yeah.
On all sides. You know, my mother's brother came back from Vietnam, from the war, messed up, killed himself. You know, drank my earliest memories of him, the beer on his breath. God rest his soul, but he killed himself.
And that wasn't that wasn't like an anomaly back then.
That
like,
wasn't
unfortunately,
an anomaly, of
yeah.
course. And then my dad's side, everybody drinks. You know, my dad's from the country, North Carolina, grew up in segregation, you know, civil rights, I mean, all of those things.
Right.
You know, and, you know, my earliest memories. I was telling somebody the other day, you know, my dad, it was not uncommon or illegal to bring your kid to a bar in the 70s. You know, you could smoke on the plane,
Right.
you could smoke in
We could
the
go buy
hospital.
this stuff back in the day because back in the day, it was just a kind of an unspoken rule that they know we wasn't
Right.
drinking or smoking. I used to run errands and buy cigarettes for the older people in
Right.
the neighborhood.
Right.
I don't know about the alcohol, but I mean, it was
Yeah.
the same principle.
I mean, I remember some of my earliest memories of my father are being in a bar with him,
Mm-hmm.
at the bar, sitting in a stool at the bar while he's
Wow.
drinking. You know, and then him giving me some quarters to go play Space Invaders. You know what I mean?
The
And they're
pinball machine.
It's not a bad memory,
No.
you know, because at that point, even in his alcoholism, he was starting to progress.
I got you.
You know, so he wasn't out of control at that point. But by the time we got to Delaware, and by the time, you know, I've got 5 brothers and sisters, you know what I mean?
Right.
And my dad's a smart guy. You know, he graduated from HBCU with a degree in chemistry. He had a big job.
I don't know too many people that would say their dad's not a smart
Nah,
guy.
I know,
but
but
he
I
is a
mean,
smart
I'm
guy.
just
I mean,
saying,
I know
you know,
how many people
he was
go
a-
here.
he
Yeah,
was-
my parents are not that bright.
But I mean, he was doing his thing in terms of moving up the corporate ladder.
Understood.
Right? He was a manager at ICI, which turned into AstraZeneca.
Correct. Yeah,
Right?
mhm.
So he was moving, you know, and you know, his drinking progressed. He went to work. They smelled it on his breath, and they fired him. And overnight, he had to go from this high-paying salary job back to selling cars, doing anything he could to support the family while he's trying to get sober. And so this was the environment that I grew up in from the time I was probably 2 or 3. I mean, he's been sober now for 34 years. Let's be clear. He started getting sober when I was 23. But from 0 to 23, it was like 0 to 100.
Right.
You know what I mean? My household was filled with drama, tension, mostly from him drinking, you know,
Right.
bad temper. I would bring, you know, in my house, when I was doing hip hop, you know, my house was the neighborhood spot that everybody came
It's
to.
one of those in every.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
my mom wanted us in the house versus us being out doing whatever.
Right.
So we could be up till 1 a.m. making beats and having them up as loud as possible. And in my room rapping, I had mixing boards and I had everything in my room, a full studio. And so people would come at all time of day and night. And my dad would come out drunk and pee on the floor, pee in the
Right.
living room, come out naked sometimes.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's one of them Southern guys. This is my house.
Yeah.
I do what I want. You know what I mean?
The crazy thing is the understanding, just to, kind of share with you how it's relatable. There's addiction in my family as well, a lot. And it's one of my biggest fears of not wanting to take medications and things like that, because I not to get too super spiritual with you, but I do believe in generational curses and not to play with certain things. But my grandfather my mom was an alcoholic. My grandfather was an alcoholic. So those are the type things that I grew up with as well, watching him, pee in the trash can and just, this, how they get when you get this loud, boisterous thing. And I just wonder how that, being in that environment weighs on someone, like yourself and the things that you're doing.
It weighed on me in that I was out. I was never home. Even when I went to school, I didn't go to school. You know what I mean? I would go to school, I would be tired because I didn't want to be in my house.
Gotcha.
So when I got to Glasgow, I might stay for first or second period and then I was gone. I mean, my 11th grade year, my 12th grade year, I had to do 12th grade twice. But my 11th grade year, I think I went to school 80 days, 70 days out of the school year. And they passed me.
Damn, Glasgow. Shout out to Glasgow High School alumni. I don't know.
We
turned out all right.
We turned out all right, But, I say all that to say that, I didn't want to be in the pressure cooker, you know what I mean? But I had younger brothers, younger sisters. My older sister, she was straight. She went off to college and all that, but we were still there.
Right.
And so, I just kind of was out in the street, you
Right.
know? And I don't mean I was out in the street like doing gang banging or selling
Right.
drugs. I was just not home.
Right.
You know what I mean? Most of the time.
And you just got it in that world. the world of the streets alone. You don't even have to be in hip hop.
Right.
But the streets alone, when you're in there, it just comes with a certain thing.
Right.
Just like if you live in the suburbs, there's certain things that just come with the suburbs.
Right.
And I guess for me, I have lived in that same environment, so I can kind of fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
The listeners might not be so much be able to fill in the gaps, but I do.
Well, let me say this. I don't mean to talk over you.
No, you're
but
good.
One thing I've learned through, my sobriety journey is that it is way more common than, people don't go around and say, hey, I'm sober, I'm on my sobriety. Most people don't talk about it, but everybody. Probably, I was talking to somebody, I was at an ad conference in Florida, and I was talking to the head of worldwide growth for a particular company. And we ended up striking up a really good friendship, riding around talking. And here this guy is, 65 years old, white dude, talking about his sister and the addiction that she has and the alcoholism and all. And I'm like, yeah, this is something you can bond with people way more than anything else.
Yes,
because
that's
it
true.
impacts everybody. There's not one person that you can talk to that doesn't have somebody that hasn't been or is addicted to something.
And I think that's important. What you said, like in that story, is you said this was a gentleman, a white gentleman, correct? But it's the whole point of this podcast. It's like we have to get to a space where, as men, obviously we're talking about black men, especially, where this is not a weird conversation to talk about, especially as we get older and things are happening. I think that's one of the reasons why we're still stuck, is because we don't talk about this stuff. We don't openly say, hey man, does it hurt down there underneath your testicles? Yeah. Like, you got that lump and I don't know what it is about us, and it's just men too. We got to stop using, the ER as our PCP. But the point is that it's important for us to have those conversations.
We're talking about personal care provider.
Yeah, I'm saying,
not
let me.
PCP.
Yeah.
We're doing a show on addiction,
Personal care. Right. It's important that we share. Maybe I should say HCP. But the point is like the addiction aspect of it, the lifestyle, all those things just keep weighing on you, the streets, the everything. So at some point, you started drinking.
Yeah, it's interesting because I didn't drink or smoke at all when I was younger. You know what I mean? I didn't start drinking. I know when I started drinking. I was 24 years old.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And I know what I first drank first. It was Mad Dog 2020.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah,
that's a weird way to get introduced to the game of drinking.
I didn't like it, but it was cheap.
Yep.
And
that's where a lot of this comes from. It's cheap.
It's cheap.
Let's not go into that of how they put liquor into,
Yeah, that's a whole other thing. But it was cheap, and I didn't really think much of it, at the time. And then, as I started all hip hop when I was 23, you know what I mean? So this is our 27th year in business.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And, when I turned around 24 and started getting into the music business, well, there were two things. One, my dad was starting his sobriety journey. He got sober when I was 23. And, I was like, okay, that's good. I have a threshold maybe that I don't think I will go over because I grew up with this. I don't want to be that. But I didn't know at the time, one, that it's a disease that is in you from the day you're born.
Right.
It's just waiting there. And two, I didn't really know at the time that it was progressive.
Gotcha.
So I started off, I'll tell you, I started off with a bang, when I got into business. Russell Simmons had a book release party.
Okay.
Everybody was there. Jay-Z, In Vogue, just Paris Hilton. You name it. Everybody was there. And that was like the first.
And I'm sure they was not drinking water.
It was open bar. And I was so square, I didn't even know what open bar was.
Oh, wow.
I had heard of it maybe at a wedding.
Right.
But I didn't know you could go to a party and it was free.
Free.
Oh, man, listen. I drank 9 vanilla vodkas,
Woo.
9 vanilla Stoli and ginger ales in like a 3-hour period. 9 of them.
You was grooving.
Man, I sat down on the couch and the party was going on around me and I closed my eyes for a second when I woke up and the lights was on and everybody was gone.
Wow. Wow.
Now,
Is that real?
That's real.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
you was smashed.
Yeah. Now
you was smashed Bandicoot.
I will say that when I went outside, everybody was still outside.
But the point was is you were still in there.
I was still in there
and had no idea how you got to that space.
I was just like, wow,
So that's wow.
And that kind of
24. Is that when you said you?
24. Yeah.
So you started drinking at 24, and you came in hot.
I came in hot, and then now that was in the extreme case,
gotcha.
Right? But I never stopped drinking, and then you add on having some money, having some notoriety and some fame, and this is not frowned upon behavior.
Yeah. This is the job. This is not like
working.
Part of the job. Right. This is not working for a hospital.
This is part of the job. They pass it to you. Here, take it.
Yeah,
do it.
It is part of
And you're with other people that, as we know now, are enablers. People who do this and who want you to do it, and so all of a sudden, you start this different lifestyle starts to emerge.
It becomes part of your life.
And it's fun, at least to start. It's fun.
That's all addictions. They all start out. It all starts out fun in the beginning until it turns into an addiction.
Until it turns into something, right?
So you started, and I'm with you.
Yeah.
So you started drinking. You're in the space of this entertainment world. Drinking is probably a small thing. That's probably like in comparison to
That's
all the.
why I didn't look at it as such a big deal, because I've seen it all.
That's interesting. That's an interesting point. I want you to elaborate on that, because I think that's an interesting point for the viewers to understand. Like,
I mean, when you walk into a bathroom and you see people snorting cocaine,
alcohol seems like the least of your worries.
I'm like,
I'm not doing that.
I'm not that. Look at that addict.
Yeah.
That's a drug addict.
And see, this goes back to the addiction thing, where I'm starting to feel the personal side of it. So the same scenario, I started late. My mom even told me, why are you starting this stuff late? Smoking, everything. And the weed thing was for me. It was an arbitrary situation.
Me
Just
too.
like I was riding down, had just got in an argument with my ex. My buddies was like, let's go down to, if you remember back in the day, Freaknik, the Virginia Beach joints. So we were riding. It's a 4-hour ride from where we from. They're smoking, but we're in the car. So they hit me with this old stupid logic, and it caught me off guard. They were like, oh, you're in the car for 4 hours riding, you might as well be smoking too.
You got the contact.
Yeah, so you might as well smoke it too. So they passed it. And literally from that day, I smoked weed like a son of a biscuit for a long time, until I realized what you said. Like, I never thought I was an addict, because it wasn't the world of heroin, coke, what I consider maybe like hard drugs.
Richard Pryor got a funny line where he says, hey, I've been snorting cocaine for 15 years. I can stop whenever I want.
Right.
Like the irony of it.
Right.
The same thing. I
Right.
started smoking probably when I was late, didn't like smoking through high school and all that. I tried it, wasn't for me.
Right.
And at some point I was like, oh, yeah, this kind of works. And I smoked every day for probably 20 years.
And so.
And I mean every day, blunts all day, every day, in my car, everywhere I'm at, in the airport, through the airport.
I'm having sweats right now as I come out of my. I feel like, but yes, all the time, so much. So let
me say one thing.
Yeah.
It was such a joyous event to be able to bring your blunt in the club, stand on a couch, and drink Hennessy while you smoke. Because it wasn't always legal.
It wasn't. It
wasn't.
was a different energy.
It was a different energy. So it was like, not only am I in this environment, now I'm also the rebel in the club. I'm the one in there smoking and drinking, and everybody's in the club watching me do it.
And it's a lifestyle thing. I think the same thing, when it happens, the streets catch over you, you get caught in this lifestyle. And then next thing you know, you don't realize you're there. You're like all the way in. And so for me, I wanted, in your particular case, because you got great stuff going on. Your .com, all hip hop is moving forward. Your partner doing great. You're in this space of building, but you're still doing these things. At some point, and I'm gonna ask a tough question. At some point, you started having to see things shift. And my question to you is, I don't typically, like, when you think about your addiction, what do you think you lost? Because all this stuff sounds wonderful, you know, in the grand scheme of the accomplishments and things of that.
I mean,
but you know, the ideal of it is really like, there's a negative side to it.
Oh man, listen, I lost a lot, you know? I mean, thankfully, I'll say for me, that most of the things that I did were self-destructive things. So I didn't.
You mean to yourself?
To myself.
As to
I
other
didn't
people,
have
right.
an accident and kill somebody. I know that's an extreme, but you know, I didn't get into fights. You know, I didn't smack anybody around. You know what I mean? Like I didn't
Right.
do those types of things. But it had an impact on my relationships. You know, maybe with women that I was with that had relationships that had some kind of potential.
Correct.
You
Yep.
know, now obviously
I'm in agreement with
everything works. You know, the story ends up working itself out the way it's supposed to, and I'm with who I need to be with, and I've got the 2 kids I love. But you know, there were relationships, interpersonal relationships,
Right.
that were damaged. And I am one of these alcoholics where, you know, I can work. It doesn't
You're
impact my work.
functioning.
In fact,
Yep.
I had a rule where it was like, no drinking until work is over, so that it doesn't impact my work.
Right,
You know
right.
what I mean? And as a younger person with a higher metabolism, I could drink all night and wake up at 6, 7 in the morning and get up and be totally fine.
Yeah.
I can't do that now.
Yeah, I miss
You know what I
those
mean?
days.
I'm
you
in
know,
bed by 8:30.
Right. I'm not even worried about addicts. I'm just talking about just regular old.
regular
Oh,
everything.
this. Why is
I'm
why is this ligament hurting? I mean, why is this muscle hurting? One of the things I've learned or discovered getting older, I like to say well marinated. We getting well marinated. Is you just have these random things where like I didn't even know there was a muscle here or a bone because things are just hurting, and it's just tough enough dealing with just getting older to compound it with adding another element like alcoholism or any kind of addiction. And when you say you lost things, because I've lost things as well, I'm in complete agreement with you and the understanding of, you know, you destroy relationships that it doesn't necessarily have to be, like you said, we're children things, but these are just relationships because sometimes things are for a season. Everything doesn't have to end maliciously or, you know, in that way. But some of the things I lost was like the time with my children, you know, that quality time with my kids, which is far more important than any of the other stuff. And so I know you've had your children sort of after, you know, you got clean, but and not having that addiction. But what did you do? Like, how did you get to the point? What was the rock bottom? That's what I want. Where did you get to the space where it was like, yo, dog, I have a problem and I need to do something about it?
Well, for the people out there listening, you know, oftentimes we talk about rock bottom, right? And the reality is there is no bottom. You know, you can keep falling, and you can keep falling and falling and falling, you know, if you're not careful. I mean, obviously there is an awakening, something that will wake you up, but that's what I'm saying. There have been multiple moments where you would think one would wake up.
Correct.
I mean, I crashed my car on the side of the road, you know, and I remember looking at it and saying to myself, Eazy-E got a rap line where he talks about, I done wrapped my 6'4" around the telephone pole,
yeah.
and he says, I left it in the gutter and said, F it, I'll go buy another
one.
I remember looking at my car on the side of the road and saying that, F it, I'll just go buy another one. And I scurried through the woods, I went into a hotel room and passed out.
Wow.
Right? And I woke up the next morning and I was like, where am I? I woke up and I was like, what the hell? Why am I in a Motel 8 or Motel 6 or whatever it is? I'm like, what?
Why when you drunk, you pick the worst places to go?
Well, you know what?
I mean, yeah.
I know why I did it because I was like, I got to get away from the cops.
Yeah, so
You know what I mean?
you went extra.
I don't want no DUI.
Yeah.
So I ran through the woods and, you know, I had a lawyer who told me to do that.
Right.
Say, yo, because I knew the way you're living, at some point, something's going to happen. Make sure you have a lawyer, make sure you have advice and all that. So I had this advice. Hey, if you can, leave the scene. And don't.
This is horrible. Listen, let me time out.
I know.
I just want to put a time out in here.
I'm just telling the truth.
No,
I'm not saying that this is what you should do.
And that's what.
Because there's a point to this.
Right.
I got into the hotel room I can't even believe they checked me in. I was bloody, my head was bleeding, you know what I mean? Like, all of this was happening, you know? And I went, I tried to call my girl to tell her, yo, I'm not coming home tonight. You know what I mean? I'm actually kind of hurt.
Right.
You know?
You don't want to compound the situation. You got to call the missus up because now you're going to have a new problem.
I had a new problem in the morning. I woke up, I finally figured out how to call her.
Oh, Lord.
First of all, that's how tore up I was. She came and picked me up. I remember going and looking for my car, and it was obviously gone. You know, so they finally told me where it was at. And I remember going and looking at it, because I thought maybe I'm just gonna have a few flat tires or something, you know what I mean? Didn't seem.
So you're about to see the car now sober?
Sober.
Got you.
And I was just like, oh my God, what in the world? Like, I should not even be here right now, to be honest with you. When I go back and I look at what happened, I ride on this road all the time, and I look at the trajectory that I took. It was like going through a field goal of metal poles. And I could have easily just hit one or the other.
And got impaled, right.
And it wasn't a big.
Well, you didn't have a lot of wiggle room.
For the car to fit through.
Right. That's the grace of God, man.
Now, you know, you would think that would be it, right?
You would think.
Got a new car. I remember riding home in the new car drunk. You know what I mean? With my fist at the window. Yo, universe, you can't beat me.
Right.
I mean, total insanity. Total insanity when I look back at it.
I think that's what addiction does to, I mean, I haven't experienced addiction of like heroin or stuff like that,
Right.
but addiction is addiction. Whether it's sex, food, whatever it is, you're an addict. And that's what I had to learn. Even the addiction to selling drugs, which was sort of like my thing, is the addiction of money.
Right.
And to your point, like, there's moments where, and that's what I'm trying to, you know, to understand is like, this is not new to other people that get with any addiction where they have life-threatening situations, and yet they still do it, whether they think they're, and I've heard, you know, heroin addicts talk about somebody ODing and saying, well, they wasn't strong enough, or I can handle my, you know, like handle your addiction or your drugs. And really, I think that's when you're at the space where, no, you can't. You know, you're completely gone when you're at this space of making life-threatening decisions.
For yourself and for other people. Driving drunk, I mean, there's been times I drove home seeing quadruple. Seriously, I mean, that's how irresponsible, the kind of irresponsible behavior that I was partaking in. And so, you know, one day I was sitting out back in my house and I was looking at the nice things that I had. You know, I was hungover from something. I was out back smoking weed, and I looked at all the roaches that was sitting around. Roaches, not bugs.
Yeah, you're not bugs.
Weed
I'm gonna
roaches.
clarify this for him. That's the end of a weed of a blunt when you don't smoke it all. Yeah. It's not the critters that run around. So.
And there was like 30 or 40 of them.
Even though you can see roaches when you're high too, like you may.
But you know, I'm big on physics, right? You know, and trying to understand how the universe works.
Right.
What's gravity?
Yeah.
What makes
very
a
analytical.
star explode?
Like, I'm just like that. Yeah.
I'm very into space and the universe and how it works. And so, you know, I was sitting there looking at the blunts, and I'm like, you know, you're actually smoking what stars produce, the carcinogens. You're putting it in your body.
On purpose.
On purpose, right? And,
Carcinogens, yep.
And so then I start thinking, I'm like, now, when we send a space probe out into the universe, you know, it can only go so close to these types of gases before the metal corrodes. You're made of flesh, not metal. Like, you know how fast this is gonna consume you? There is no other out for you at this rate other than kidney failure, cancer from smoking, lung cancer, throat cancer, any of those things. And you know, I'm looking at my son, and I'm like, doing my age math, you're not gonna see him graduate high school. And I was just like, you know what? I don't want him to see how I saw my dad. All those things started coming back to me. My dad kissing me goodnight and the beer breath on him, you know?
It's some small things.
Small things. Yeah. I'm talking about a memory in my crib.
Right. Very vivid.
You know, very vivid. And people be like, you can remember when you were in your crib? I'm like, I don't remember every day. You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
everybody has these deeply ingrained memories that you can recall. And that's one of them, fortunately, in my opinion, because I was like, you know what? I don't think of my dad that way, by the way. Me and my dad are super tight, great relationship, because he worked the 12-step program, he made amends, everything that somebody would need to do, he did,
Right.
made sure we were straight, got the family back, got his job back, got everything, so, and he's so active in the community with helping people with alcoholism. I mean, everybody knows this guy. Everybody knows him. When we go out to breakfast, people come up to my table and they'll be like, they ain't coming to talk to me.
Right.
They coming to talk to Mr. Kurt, and
that's a beautiful transition into, and I didn't mean to stop you. I was just thinking about the dynamics of once you walk this journey and you get right, and like your father, he's paying it extra forward because now he's actually going back to those same areas that he once was a participant in a negative way. Now he's participating in a positive way to help out.
And that's part of recovery.
And
That's part of recovery, which is why I don't have a problem doing this podcast, or why I don't have a problem talking about alcoholism, or why I don't have a problem sharing my journey. One, I've got a great role model in my father, and watching his redemption arc.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Talk about it.
And then saying to myself, I work in a business, as we stated, where this is just normal behavior until it's not normal behavior,
right.
Or until something extreme happens.
Yep.
I mean, how many times I read about people where I'm like, oh, he shot somebody? Oh, when he wakes up sober, he's gonna realize he just threw his whole life away.
Right.
And he's gonna have a life in prison sentence for something he did, blacked out drunk.
Right.
So, hey, if I can talk to people, which I do, if I can fellowship with people, which I do, if my little story helps somebody, which I hope it does, it's not the most extreme case, you know what I mean? But everybody in this universe, really, but at least on Earth, because this is all we know, is unique. Everybody is a unique person. No two people are alike, no two stories are alike.
Right.
So everybody has an interesting story to tell.
That's true.
I
don't think your story is. I think you're minimizing it. I think every story is important. Everybody has their journey, and the good news about telling stories is that when you spread this out amongst the masses, it might seem like a small or a minuscule story to you, but there's probably tens of thousands of other people that have the same exact story.
Right.
And you just never know what's going to resonate with people. Somebody might be in a really heavy addiction, and it might just take that conversation, something that they might resonate with your beard.
Right.
Or
Right.
we just don't know, because at that point, when you're dealing with addiction and you're trying to get free, you don't care where it comes from. You're reaching and you're grabbing for that lifeline. And I commend, you and all people that talk about their stories, whether it be like mine with cancer or whatever your story is, sharing it, because there are people who are struggling with addictions that are afraid to share their story, or they think that the same thing that keeps them stuck in their addiction, nobody cares, or their voice isn't heard. And then when they see someone like yourself come, not even just on this platform, but you do this in everyday life. Right now, we just on this show, but this is something I know personally that you do everywhere you roll. And I'll give you guys a great story before we close the show. I'll give you a great example. He came to one of my events recently, and this is how crazy it was. It was open bar, which I know not to do, at least not the entire event.
Not because of me.
Not because of him, but the point is that in that event, because of the ambiance and everything, I walked, someone's like, hey man, you good? He's like, yeah. I was like, yo, you want a drink? Or he's like, Grand, I don't. I was like, oh my God, that's right, my fault. I'm sorry, you don't drink. You want to, and it was just that moment, I recognized in that moment, the power that this is every day for you. And that was a powerful, it might not have seemed to you, but I'm sharing it with everybody. For me, as I walked away, first of all, I felt horrible that I'd asked you, and you even said, don't worry about it, Grant, this happens all the time. But man, that is powerful on the side of, for those that say, sometimes you have to do, change your people, places, and things. You know, that comes with, you know, in the programs. But also in that same place, it doesn't mean that all those people that were there were bad people. They need rescuing as well. So I love the fact that you can still be in your space of this, the same one that was creating all this, you know.
No, you know, here's the thing, you know, and this is what I learned very quick. Obviously, it is people, places, and things, right? And you have to be very careful about who you deal with when you are getting sober. But you have to understand that this is your struggle. This is my struggle. This is my sobriety journey. It's not anybody else's. So you can't expect the whole world to tiptoe around you while you're trying to get sober.
That part.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, you know, I have family functions at my house where people are drinking.
Yeah, that's.
I go to events and people are drinking, you know? And for me, this is where building mental toughness comes in. You just have to take it one day at a time.
Cliche, but it is.
It's cliche, but you do.
It is the truth.
You have to take it, first of all, second by second, minute by minute.
I was going to say moment.
Hour by hour. You have to live in the moment.
Yes.
And all you have to do is focus on the moment at all given times. And understanding that if you feel that you are in a situation that could be dangerous, you just have to remove yourself from it. You know, there have been plenty of times where I am at an event and I'm like, I don't ever really seriously consider it, but you know, it never leaves your mind. You know, there are plenty of times where I'm at an event where I'm like, man, that Johnny Walker Black,
but that's real.
That is looking so good right now. I can almost taste it.
Yeah.
And I say, you know what? Let me just go step outside for a minute.
That's dope.
That's the alcoholism. That's the addiction. That's your brain. You know, that's just what your brain is always going to do. First of all, you have to understand that you're going to live with this for the rest of your life. You don't just stop drinking and it's over. No, as a matter of fact, it progresses while you're not drinking. That's why you can pick back up and go
right
drink,
back and
drink a whole bottle of Jameson.
And a lot of times they say when you come back into addiction, you don't come back where you left off. You go harder.
You go harder. It's because it's a progressive disease and it's always progressing in you. And so you just have to be very clear with yourself if you're serious about it and saying, I'm stronger than this disease is going to be. You know, I'm not going to give power to it. I'm going to surrender to something greater than myself. Some people don't like to surrender to God. Some people don't believe in God. Some people, I surrender myself to the universe because I'm a universe guy. You know what I mean? I believe that there's another dimension and there's somebody else out there, you know, controlling my puppet strings. I won't go into it, but you know, like.
Please don't, because you're going to scare these people.
No.
I got you.
These are actual theories posited by physicists.
I got you.
So I'm just saying, I say all that to say that there are many interesting ways to lean on a higher power. For some people, the higher power is the program. For some people, the higher program is God. For some people, the higher program is whatever it is. But understanding that you have to turn it over. You haven't been able to do it by yourself.
So you need help.
So you need to, admit that you are powerless over this.
I would say that's a great way to lead to, because we could be here for 3 hours. But to your point is that you need to just find something to hold on to motivate you to make change. It could be your children. It could be this job you want to get. I'm at this space when it comes to addiction. I personally believe in God, and you need that. But I'm at this space with addictions that, hey man, I don't care if it's a Smurf. Like, I'm trying to escape it. So if you need to, if motivation is, you want to, get your weight up, whatever it takes to get you out of that addiction, lean into that. And I definitely agree with it. It's one moment at a time.
Let me just say this real quick, because I know we got to end, and like you said, we could go on forever. But, very early on, even in my drinking phase, I knew that I had to have an overarching mission in my life, more than just all hip hop. You know, like, I mean, I love all hip hop, don't get me wrong, but I'm saying, what am I here for?
Right.
What am I on the earth for? What am I supposed to be doing? Am I here to help somebody? Am I here? And, you know, I came to the conclusion that my life mission is technology, advertising, and the music business, right? Those are the three things that I'm the most passionate about. So finding meaningful work in those things beyond my job. Meaningful work meaning, how can I engage students? How can I help somebody else who's struggling? You know, how can I put the things that I've learned, whatever it might be in those three things, and pass them on to somebody else, which is why we're here in, you know, the Eldridge Johnson Victrola Museum, because this is one of my missions in life.
Right.
You know, is to get out the word that a guy from Delaware invented the record player and
Right.
all the
And he showed resilience because
he showed resilience.
Yeah.
He was depressed.
He had depression
you know,
issues, yeah.
depression and all of these things that, you know, impacted his mental health because he invented the music business.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure, and the fact that all of this is in Delaware, and that when somebody receives a Grammy Award, they're receiving Eldridge Johnson's Victrola, like, you know.
It's so much
There's
so much richness and historical entertainment history out of the state of Delaware. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and so that becomes a mission, something that I can, you know, something positive that I can latch onto to help people. And that's really what it comes down to. You know, it comes down to being your mental health, taking care of your mental health. You know, I mean, I can't stress that enough. You know, outside of the addiction, you know, that's one thing. That's one thing to deal with. But then you got you're a human. Your brain is naturally just
Doing things. He's busy.
You know, and so making sure that you have somebody to talk to, a professional. If you have health insurance, use it.
Right.
If you don't have health insurance, find somewhere local where you can get help for your mental issues. I promise you, you're not on an island.
Yep. I mean, I couldn't stress as much as I would like to the importance of what you just said about the mental health aspect of it. Like, that's huge. It's something that in our black community, black community that was shunned upon. Black men super shunned upon from the stereotype of tighten up, be tough, you don't cry. So it's important for that. I want to make sure that everybody knows that, one, we are not healthcare professionals by no stretch of the imagination, but what we are we are people who have experienced or currently experiencing some form. I have cancer, he's dealing with sobriety issues. But if you need help, especially when it comes to addictions, there's tons of places. You got NA, AA, there's all kinds of hotlines. There's a government hotline that you can call that's open 24 hours a day, all day long, for someone to call if you need assistance and you're struggling with some type of addiction. And I think it's important for everybody to know, like he said, there is help out there, whether you have tons of money or no money. There is help out there in some shape, form, or fashion to deal with your addiction. And so, man, listen, this has been one for the ages. When I end my show, you know, I gotta bring it back to hip hop. First, I want to give you an opportunity to share any kind of last nugget you want to make sure people know about staying sober, the importance of it, and then I'll hit you with my question.
Well, there's a particular quote I like to live by, and it's going to sound really deep, or like maybe I, planned for this, but this quote just resonates with me, and it's, you can put in whatever sex you want, he or she, but he who's all in all carries all with him when he carries himself.
I might have to rewind that. Say it one more time.
He who's all in all to himself carries all with him when he carries himself. Meaning, it's all on you.
Yeah, it's a loop. I felt the loop coming, like, it's all on you. So listen, I'm so glad that you came to the program today. It's a blessing to have you, Greg. I end my show with, when you want to get hyped up, geeked up, pumped up. Give me one hip hop. I know it's hard, but just give me one hip hop song that gets you open like that.
Oh man, I mean,
I know it's
some
tough.
of them, it's not tough. It's just some of them may not match with, what we're talking about.
It don't need to match. Yeah, this is. They don't even need to match. This is what you use.
From a beat and a sample standpoint, love Eazy-E, easier said than done.
Ooh.
That's one of my favorites. Cool G Rap, Road to the Riches. That's probably one that is like pretty inspirational and aspirational.
So let me ask this. That's dope. Cool G Rap, Eazy-E, God rest his soul. Another person struggling with addiction, a sexual addiction.
Right.
So when you want to listen to a song, a hip hop song that gets you inspired, not necessarily about, stopping you from drinking or something of that nature, but just something that hits you in your spirit that makes you get open.
Yeah, anything by Gangstar, Daily Operation, that album. But I would just say the one that really, really will put me in a zone for work or whatever is the East Flatbush Project, Tried by 12.
Woo! Okay, yeah. I got you. So listen, we really appreciate you guys joining in to the podcast episode today. We got Greg Watkins, Grouchy Greg Watkins in the building from allhiphop.com. And this is Hip Hope Hooray signing off. And as I always do, peace out and keep 5-0 guessing.